I'm the chair of the TriMet Board of Directors. We're really pleased to be in Hillsboro. Just so you know, this is my hometown, my district. And those of you who know a bit about me know that I probably spent, excuse me, 15 of my professional career, working with the city of Hillsboro, Washington County. So I'm very familiar with the county. Have a lot of affection for the city and the county, and it's great to be here. I don't know, is Rick Van Beveren still in the room here today? Okay, I just want to acknowledge Rick Van Beveren, who is the former chair of the TriMet Board of Directors, also from this district. He's a good friend and somebody I rely on to ask questions about what we need to do here at TriMet as we move forward. And so, again, his service, I just wanted to make sure we recognize it here this morning in front of you folks. We have a very busy agenda before us. So with that, what I'm going to do is call the March 27th, 2013 meeting of the TriMet Board of Directors to order. And we're going to get right into the welcomes and introductions. We have three people who we have indicated they'd like to provide some remarks to the TriMet Board. And the first on the list is Andy Dyke, the chair of the Washington County Board of Commissioners. Welcome.
Hello.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for coming out to Washington County. This is quite a rare honor and treat, and hopefully it'll be a regular thing that you'll be able to make the rounds once in a while. It's greatly appreciated that you did come out here today, and I'd like to say first off that TriMet has put on a face and a culture that's very important to Washington County. And in fact, that since Neil has been on as executive director, he actively reaches out to local governments and keeps us involved and informed what TriMet is doing. That's very, very important to us. I'd like to offer thanks for initiating the West Side Corridor, or West Side Enhancement Service Plan. That's really a plan that is going to be valuable to Washington County, and it's not going to work if any one government has to do it themselves. It's a true partnership, and thank you for keeping us informed and working together with us to make that happen. Just in talking to one of our local employers just recently and talking about what their expectations are for growth, we know that public transportation is going to be very, very valuable to the future of Washington County and hence to the state of Oregon and economic development. So it's very good that you're working on that. One of our top priorities, as you know, is the Southwest Corridor Plan, and that's key. We know that that's probably the next project that you'll be working on, the next big one, and it's important to us. And again, partnerships are everything. The cities, the county, TriMet. We've worked very well with the state of Oregon and the Port of Portland as well, and so we see TriMet as one of those core members. Lastly, I know that your board is dealing with tough financial issues. Won't get into those, but many organizations are. We know that no organization is strong unless its financial house is strong. And I thank you for working through those issues. I wish you all the best, and you certainly have our support in getting that taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you. Great questions from the board, by the way, since we got you up here. All right. Thank you very much for coming. Really appreciate it. We look forward to working with you some more in the future. The second person on the list is Mayor Jerry Woolley from the city of Hillsboro. Your Honor, would you come up?
Thank you, Bruce.
You bet. My pleasure.
Your Honor, that wasn't the same thing you called me the last time. Oh, this is the public.
We won't go there.
Yeah, we won't. Well, I want to echo Andy's thank you for coming out to Hillsboro and certainly having your meeting out here. And I think also just to demonstrate how much we appreciate working with Neil and the TriMet board, certainly the staff, in trying to resolve our financial, or not only our financial, but our transportation needs for the city of Hillsboro. We can't say enough about how much we appreciate the partnership that we certainly have with you, and we look forward to working with you and want to continue to outreach to you to say, let us know if we can help you in any fashion. We have, as you know, broached the idea of a West Side transportation study, and that was going to be inclusive of public transportation, of course. And I know that as this starts to get some structure to it, that we're going to want to sit down and have conversations about how we can work together to facilitate actually 2 or 3 or 4 different aspects of making transportation, and not only just for our corporate citizens, but certainly for our public, a much better thing in the future. And I think you're probably aware of our Bloomberg mayor grant that we tried to get a couple of extra bucks to do this Go Hub services. I firmly believe that obviously you didn't get that, but the city of Hillsborough is still going to continue to look at how we can do that, and we're going to want to partner up with you guys at least how to make that work. And you're the transportation experts, and certainly getting that last mile taken care of for transportation is very important. We have our corporate citizens who of course make contributions to the public transit fund, and we want to make sure that they're taken care of out into the future. One of the things that when I was thinking about what I wanted to say was recently the city of Hillsborough has been getting a lot of media attention and not necessarily good attention, and I certainly know you guys know where we live with all of that. And I just want to say that I want to encourage you that your hard work is being recognized, probably not in all the aspects that you would like it to be done, but certainly we all deal with a certain negative twist that makes the headlines, but I want to tell you that you're doing a great job, and certainly trying to help on the west side to make public transit much, much better. So I want to say thank you for that, and thank you for what you do, and we appreciate you guys being out here. So have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you. I guess, Mayor, while you're walking back, I just want to acknowledge the work of the city of Hillsborough to really help build transit-oriented developments, and again, provide opportunities for developers to build to levels that actually good for them and good for the use of our system. I particularly want to note the 4th and Main project, which I drove by this morning, which is going up. I don't know what the ETA is for that market rate housing and commercial development, but that's good. And I also want to acknowledge the city for the great work they're doing around the Orenco Station area in terms of some of the opportunities of all sorts of housing for people with affordable housing needs as well as market rate. I think those developments will provide a lot of riders for our system, but also our system will provide the opportunities for those riders or those people residing in those developments to get to work and get to the other things that they need to do to live their normal daily lives. So again, thanks for what you guys have done. It's been very, very helpful.
Thank you, Bruce.
The last person I have on the list is Councillor Catherine Harrington, who is the Metro Councillor from this district. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for being here. I first want to thank you for serving on the TriMet board and leading the agency. It's complex, challenging work serving the various aspects of our community, and I'm grateful for your time and your expertise in doing so. I know it can be boggling and really challenging at times, and thank you for sticking with it. TriMet is a great partner for us, a strong partner for this county's communities, businesses, and for Metro, where I spend a lot of my time. TriMet is committed to working on increasing access to transit, just like I am. Sidewalks and safe crossings that help employees and residents use transit to meet the daily needs that Chair Warner was just mentioning. And despite recent headlines, I trust that this community, in partnership with you, is willing to roll up its sleeves to help bring more transit service to our region. I'm very appreciative of TriMet's efforts and continued partnership on the Southwest Corridor planning that is ongoing. I join the rest of the region in hoping for a great outcome that includes smart, efficient, and convenient transit that the other communities in our region can emulate. A few other programs that you have partnered with Metro on recently include our Active Transportation Strategic Plan, the Regional Travel Options Grant Program, and the Climate Smart Community Scenarios work that is ongoing. All of this work takes resources, and I appreciate the work of the TriMet Board and of General Manager McFarland to bring stability to the finances of our region's transit agency. Your work on this very important topic is key to adding services that is so needed in this region, and I am very supportive of your efforts. Thank you so much for your continued discipline in this area.
Thank you, Chancellor. Nice to see you out here this morning. Appreciate it a lot. I guess before we go to the next part of our agenda, which is the reports from the general manager and others, I was probably negligent in not allowing the board members to introduce themselves and tell you where they're from. I will point out that Tiffany Schweitzer is from the northwest portion of downtown Portland and the northwest portion of that extension further up the Columbia River, excuse me, Willamette River. She's ill, we just found out this morning. We do have one vacancy. Steve Clark, who's from the Tigard area, needed to resign because he accepted a position with Oregon State University and decided the commute was not what he wanted to do, so he's now decided to live down in that area. And then Consuelo Zaragoza, whose nameplate you don't see here, she's unable to attend. Her father died unexpectedly, so that's the reason she's not here. But I'd like the others to maybe introduce themselves for you. Craig?
My name is Craig Prosser, retired. My last working job was as city manager of Tigard, so I'm very familiar with Washington County and the issues here. Had a lot of fun working in Tigard with Washington County and Metro and the other partners, so I feel like I'm really up to speed on the issues out here, and I'm glad to hear the remarks concerning support for the Southwest Corridor Plan. When I was in Tigard, that was something that we were really working hard to achieve, so glad to hear there's still support moving forward on that.
Good morning, I'm Travis Stovall from the eastern part of the metro region. I represent East Multnomah counties, Gresham, Troutdale, Wood Village, Fairview, parts of the city of Portland. And I just want to say that as I was driving over here this morning, at one point I thought to myself, if I drive just about 5 minutes further, I must be at the coast, right? It can't be that far away. And I left yesterday just to get here on time. Crossing the Great Divide, there in the middle of the valley we call Portland. But I do want to point out one of my former previous counterparts that's in the room, Jonathan Slater, who's in the back of the room, works with Washington County now, used to work with West Side Economic Alliance. And you guys are here on the west side, and in Washington County, you're lucky to have him. Jonathan, I used to always say, I used to sit next to Jonathan in economic development meetings and take down notes. Every note that he would write, I'd write down myself. And then I'd usurp him whenever they asked us for questions. I'd take one of his questions and I'd ask it just so I could appear smart. So certainly I've got great respect for Jonathan and the work that he's doing over here in Washington County, and actually the rest of the team. You guys have done a phenomenal job historically moving into the future. Something that coming from the east side, we're unabashedly, we're looking to emulate as we look at economic development and furthering everything that we're doing out there. Certainly the comments that were made, want to thank everybody for talking this morning and understanding and appreciating the complexity of what we're having to do from a budgetary standpoint, but also a service standpoint, in the intricacies of ensuring that we're delivering service across the region that's going to be something that's sustainable and something that's going to meet the needs of the community, both from a business and economic development perspective, but also from a mass transit and public transit perspective. And a lot of folks know this already, but I'm a huge advocate of poverty, prosperity, and ensuring that we can also be an advocate in making sure that conduit is something that is allowed for here in this region, so that we can continue to press upward in our ability to make sure people have the opportunity to get jobs. And I believe that public transit and mass transit is a key component there. So again, thank you for all the great comments. We'll continue to work hard and listen to all the things that we're hearing from the constituent stakeholders and people in the community as we move forward, again, with a budget discussion today. that isn't quite as in depth as last year, but certainly there are things that I'm sure are going to raise comments. But I want to thank everybody for coming out this morning. Greatly appreciate it.
I'm T. Allen Bethel. I serve as the senior pastor of Maranatha Church over in North Portland. I represent Northeast Portland. I'm also the president of the Albino Ministerial Alliance. I bring to the board of TriMet, finally getting a chance to sit on the side of transportation. I represented the community in Boston, Massachusetts, with the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority, and the relocation of the Orange Line all the way over to the southwest quarter, which involved demolishing a high-raised level line, replacing with transit on the ground surface, and then relocating all of that over to the southwest quarter to the building out of all of the stations and the development along the way. I'm very proud of the buildings that were built there, and mostly important, the Boston Police Headquarters, which are located on the southwest quarter, along with the junior college, a track, and a national park, so that the property can never, ever again be taken by eminent domain and remove or displace a community. I'm very interested in that in transportation, as well as opportunities for everyone to have an opportunity to work and to be employed by TriMet or to do contracts with TriMet. Thank you for inviting and having us out here. It's a pleasure to be out in Hillsborough again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bethel. Here's proof that you can return. Everybody knows that song, I think. So right into the reports, I think along the lines of what we've been talking about, the first item is to discuss the West Side Service Enhancement Plan. I know the staff has been working a lot with the public and private sector out here on ways to improve service and deal with some of the growth that has occurred out here. Much of it anticipated, but some of it to the level that was never anticipated. So with that introduction, I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. General Manager.
Yes, Mr. Board President, members of the board, and everyone here. Alan and Tom, could you please come up and obviously do a quick overview of the West Side Service Enhancement Plan. Again, what you should know about this is really the first of a series of sector plans, visioning that we really need to do in our region. And this, we're really cried out for this here on the West Side. As I've told a number of people, we really haven't changed our system out here since really about the mid-90s when we began the planning for the opening of the West Side Light Rail. And obviously there's been dramatic growth in both job location and residential location, and a lot of changes and a lot of further demands on the transit system. And we, I think, found an incredibly warm reception from the Washington County community, as you've heard a bit this morning, in terms of our look at this, what the future of service needs to be. Now, obviously, we continue to have financial challenges, but I think we have to and have the responsibility to still look ahead and create the vision for what transit needs to be in our community. And again, this is the first of sector plans. We'll be beginning with other parts of the region here very shortly. So I turn it over to Alan.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Again, Alan Lato, Director of Planning and Policy. With me is Tom Mills, who is our lead for the West Side Service Enhancement Plan. So all of the hard work and all of, I think, the enjoyable work, since it's been a great partnership to get to this point, Tom has done a lot of that work. So any hard questions you have for me, he'll be answering. I just wanted to give you an update on this. We've been working really for about a year on this effort and trying as much as possible to reach out to as many different people, jurisdictions, both at the elected and at the staff level, the business community, neighborhood associations, social service agencies, the general public, really because of exactly what Neil talked about, the growth that's happened. The last time we really sort of took a truly comprehensive look at how we serve the West Side was as part of the West Side Max opening in the mid to late 90s. We've done some substantial improvements since then, such as upgrading the TB highway bus to a frequent service line so that it serves with frequent service all day, 7 days a week, Beaverton, Aloha, Hillsborough, Cornelius, and Forest Grove, but not a comprehensive look at the entire network, which is really what's needed, given all the new neighborhoods that have sprouted up, all the new job growth, the new development that has really transformed this area of Washington County, certainly in this area of the region. for the past 10 or 15 years. There are also new visions for continued growth in terms of new neighborhoods like South Hillsborough, changes in Amber Glen, and expansions of employment. And all of those are things that we really need to understand, we needed to understand, and be able to look forward and have everybody help us create a vision for how we can serve that future for this area. Neil already mentioned that this is one of what will ultimately be 5 sub-areas of our region that we'll be looking at. This is the first one, so we're really in the stages of having put together the vision and now sharing that out and making sure that it makes sense to everybody. We started out with a months-long listening tour of all of the partners that I mentioned, everything from service providers to individuals, business owners, business associations, neighborhood associations, jurisdictions, agencies of all different types, to really understand what people were seeing of the needs now and also what the visions were for the future. We did a public survey, we did a lot of demographic analysis with the new census data, and again, trying to understand the visions for growth. And the plan is, what we're trying to do here is identify near-term, low-cost improvements that we can do in our current financial situation, but still things that start to build, take that first step toward a longer-term vision. Create that long-term vision for service, not just our vision, but a shared vision for what we can do to help support long-term mobility and growth in the area. And look for those opportunities for partnerships, both between public organizations and public-private partnerships to improve operations and service. And as we've really tried to do over the past couple of years, again, shine a spotlight for this area on what the needs are for access to and from transit, because every rider is a pedestrian first and last. Westside really has been leading the region's economic recovery. You see more cranes and activity here, and we've got some great projections for a total job growth over time. I already mentioned the new neighborhoods, surging enrollment really at all the educational institutions, including PCC. Lots of upgrades in terms of infrastructure, transportation, and everything else. And a lot of travel. You know, it's been a long time since the West Side has been about commuting in and out of downtown Portland. It's about travel anywhere to anywhere. There are job areas all throughout the West Side. There are residential areas. And so we're trying to create a vision that helps support that. This up here on the screen and in front of you is a very simplified version of what our network looks like today. Some of the connections there. We've got, of course, the MAX line and the TV highway frequent service line called out. Some of the others are simply peak only and trying to make connections throughout the region, throughout the West Side area. And the vision really takes that and builds on it so that there are more frequent service lines, better connections, more ability to make those anywhere-to-anywhere trips. If you have to make a transfer, it's a place where it's a comfortable transfer and it doesn't take very long, so that you can make all of those kinds of trips, not just a single focused destination trip. So to dig a little bit deeper, to make good transit, to be able to make that sort of anywhere-to-anywhere trip is really about creating a grid of service, so that we've got very clear corridors that we serve, and you allow transfers between relatively frequent lines, and that allows that kind of trip making. We're considering whether we might be able to sort of swap the ends of the red line and the blue line, so that the red line, which comes from the airport, could go all the way to right here, right across the street, and make that direct connection to the airport. And we're really we'll be talking a little bit about some of the early improvements that are proposed for this coming September, and one improvement that we've already put in place. Really need to look at not just kind of changing the network, but also the less waiting and faster trips, so a broader range of people are able to make their various needed trips on the system. That includes proposals for new frequent service lines, looking at high-capacity transit on TV highway, which we think would be a great opportunity for bus rapid transit, but also has other options we need to explore with our partners. Improved frequency on local service, especially during those key peak times and during times when the job sites are having their work days begin and end, and transit priority treatments throughout the area. And of course, safe places to walk. and wait for transit. So we've talked to you about the pedestrian network analysis and our look at the region as a whole. We know that, for instance, there are, out of our 6,500 or so stops and stations, there are probably 1,500, if not more, that look something like this. Sort of a good sign, it's visible, but it's in a ditch. It's not connected to a sidewalk. It's certainly not ADA accessible. So we're looking for the ability for, especially to work with partners and to find other grant opportunities or other funding opportunities to fill sidewalk gaps, narrow and improve crossings, because that's a key part. A lot of our service is on the major arterials on the west side. The intersections, as the streets are improved, sidewalks are added, but also the streets are widened and the curb radii are changed and the intersections get larger, and that makes crossing sometimes intimidating and maybe not feel as safe. And so making sure that that complete picture of how you get to and from transit is really dealt with. And of course improving bus stops throughout the area. And we talked a lot, especially around some of the high-tech employment sites, about bridging the last mile, looking at potential for mobility hubs. As Mayor Willie mentioned, their one application didn't come through, but it's a great idea to continue to pursue. Pedestrian wayfinding for those trips that are possible but don't necessarily seem possible on foot. Bike storage, sharing options such as car sharing, station vehicles, and things like that. And also looking at community transit. You know, the first part of what I've been talking about is really focused on fixed route transit, which is what we do well, especially with the frequency to allow those kinds of trips, any kinds of trips, connections. But there are areas where a fixed route transit service is just not going to get that many riders per hour, and it's hard to justify a pure cost efficiency basis in terms of where that investment might happen otherwise. But if you can right-size the solution and really talk about things like shuttle routes or dial rides or deviated fixed routes, which are much more flexible, lower ridership but much more flexible. If we can find either different cost structures or partners to work with to provide those kinds of services, then we might be able to provide those connections in areas where a standard fixed route transit service just doesn't make as much sense. So to give you a sense of sort of the early improvements or early wins, the first one that really became obvious as we started our listening tour and we started digging into the data was if we're going to long-term build a grid, that's based on things like the TV highway line that runs the entire east-west, the MAX line that runs the entire east-west, improving north-south lines, but also Cornell Road, which runs the entire east-west area from Hillsborough to Sunset Transit Center. And we didn't have a bus line that made that connection. So last September, we changed that to make sure it was a single bus that made the entire connection so you can make those kinds of trips. In this coming September, we're looking at realigning the 47 to better connect neighborhoods and employment, including at Intel and with the new Kaiser facility opening up. Increasing some of the frequency during those peak commute trips during the times when all this employment growth is happening and more people are needing mobility choices and to be able to access transit. Infill of sidewalks on Cornell Road, which is kind of under the leadership of Washington County, and making those improvements. Bike and rides, Forest Grove Shuttle, which we've been working with Forest Grove on, and they're really looking at the long-term ability to provide sort of that local community connection. And happy to say that with our new buses coming online, many of the buses serving some of the lines on the west side are very old, and we'll be able to see newer buses, more comfortable buses, especially the low-floor buses operating some of the lines on the west side. In 15, the one thing we're kind of keeping our eye on is that potential for in September of 2014 to swap the red and blue. Well, what's it going to take for full implementation of the vision? Obviously, reforming our long-term cost structure. There's a lot of growth envisioned here in the transit service to match the growth that's already happened and that's projected for the west side. And we really need to see a change in how that operates for us to be able to deliver on that fully. And then you've already heard from some of our partners about partnerships and making safer streets and allowing bus priority and making us as efficient as possible. really adds to that partnership to make the transit service as great as it can be to serve the growth and all the needs on the west side. Want to take that moment to really thank some of our partners, working with PCC Rock Creek, for example, that's improving the layover for us so that we can provide that service to their campus as we provide through the neighborhoods. We also provide service through the neighborhoods. Intel looking at allowing us to actually operate Line 47 onto their campus in a protected way that allows better access to their facilities. Washington County, again, for that sidewalk infill, just absolutely critical for people to be able to get to and from our services. Holland Partners for bike and ride facility, and then the City of Forest Grove and Ride Connection for looking at those shuttle options for the Forest Grove area. So our next steps are really to implement, take steps forward on those low-cost recommendations and continue to seek partnerships. Long term, we'll be looking for the ability to deliver on that vision if we can fix our long-term cost structure. And as Neil mentioned, this is sort of the first in a series of these efforts throughout the region. So you'll be hearing more about all of these, and we'll be partnering over time with folks throughout the region. With that, I'll end.
We have some speakers.
Yeah. Neil, would you like to, we did have a few speakers who'd like to speak on behalf of this. Did you want to do some questions or go ahead and have them come up?
First off, I guess I'll see if there's any questions or comments from the board at this time. Not yet. I think before maybe we have people come up, I'm noticing here that various communities have been involved, and I realized I forgot to recognize the elected officials from the various jurisdictions have been involved, a lot of them in this effort. So I want to make sure that I know in the room we have Greg Malinowski and Dick Scouten, who are both Washington County Commissioners. Maybe you guys could raise your hands. I see you there. Thanks for coming. I was noticing here the Forest Grove work, so I'm really pleased to hear I had a great discussion with Mayor Pete Truax, who's also, I think, still in the audience back there. Thank you for coming today. And Beaverton City Councilor Mark Sansouci, that's Saucy, I think that's how it's pronounced. Have I got it right?
Sansouci, yes.
Sansouci, thank you very much. And I also know that we have Jessica Stevens, who's the representative for Senator Merkley here in the audience. I don't know, you still here? I want you to raise your hand. Thanks for coming, really appreciate that. Is there any other elected folks in the audience that I've missed? Great, thank you. I guess maybe when we get done, you don't have to answer, just let the folks come up. Because of the discussion I had with Pete Truax and Forest Grove, I see we got the Forest Grove shuttle and the community transit working with Ride Connection or others. But I think there's still some concerns about overcrowding or frequency of the 57 line. So maybe when you get a chance, you can get done. We can maybe ask what's going on if you've looked at that. And I just wanted to acknowledge Intel, who I don't think is in the room here today, for working with us to really, I think, figure out how we can get the buses onto the campus. I think this is a new thing for them. So this is really exciting to see them doing that. And also, I suspect they may be looking at maybe some changes in the entryways to allow those buses to go in. So I think this is good for us and it'll be good for Intel. I'm pleased to see that noted here. So with that, don't answer the questions now. Let's get to the community stakeholders, and then we'll have questions for all of you, all right? Good. So Neil, do you want to invite the folks up?
Yes. Unfortunately, I don't have the formal list, but Frank, I know, Frank Angelo, with the Westside Economic Alliance.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, General Manager. My name is Frank Angelo. I'm here on behalf of the Westside Economic Alliance today. I'm a board member as well as the chair of the Transportation Committee. And we'd certainly like to express our appreciation to Neil and the board for your leadership in ensuring that this work moved forward in the past year. But in particular, Alan and Tom and Diane have been very gracious in coming to our committee meetings, sharing information with us early on in the process, and then they were at our last month's meeting to show us the results of the Westside Enhancement Plan. So I'm here on behalf of the Westside Economic Alliance to endorse the work that TriMet has done. It's been a very good piece of work. We have been involved throughout, as our members have been. Intel is obviously a member of the Westside Economic Alliance, and you'll hear from Kaiser here in a moment. So our membership has been involved in the preparation of the enhancement plan. We certainly support TriMet's activities and have historically supported TriMet's activities to enhance and improve transit service on the west side. Alan and the earlier speakers talked about the growth in the area, the employment growth, as well as the residential growth. And we look at the enhancement plan as an opportunity to take a fresh look at providing transit service on the west side and coming up with some alternative approaches. And we're very much supportive of that. Alan, we're also very supportive of the fact that this has been a comprehensive look, from the light rail to the frequent bus to the sidewalks at bus stops. So it's a very good package that we think that provides a good foundation for TriMet and for your partners on the west side. And I include the West Side Economic Alliance as a partner on the west side to enhance and improve transit service over time. We will follow closely the implementation of this. We understand and recognize your financial circumstances, but we're hopeful that we can incrementally make these improvements over time, and when conditions improve, that we can see more of the substantive improvements happening. And I just want to make sure that the board knows and staff knows that the West Side Economic Alliance may be able to provide some strategic support as you implement this plan on the west side with our members. So we don't look at this as the end of the discussion, we look at this as the beginning, and look forward to working with you, your board, and your staff to implement it. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Really appreciate it.
Next, I'd introduce Dr. Philip Wu and Shannon Mayorga, who both want to come up.
Good morning.
Well, good morning. My name is Philip Wu. I'm a retired clinical pediatrician with Kaiser Permanente, and I'm currently on our community benefit team. Shannon Mayorga is my colleague at Kaiser, and he's with our Human Relations Department. We're going to kind of make some tag team comments here. I'm going to make some general comments about how Kaiser Permanente overall views transportation planning and how the service enhancement factors into our lens. And then Shannon's going to be a bit more specific about how the West Side Service Enhancement Plan impacts our new medical center, which is opening in August of this year. So we'll sort of do a dovetail here. Kaiser had for a long time has stressed the importance of transportation in determining the health of individuals and communities. And there are two important aspects of this. One, of course, is that encouraging people to get out of their cars and use other modes of transportation is inherently helpful. And this may mean, of course, walking and biking. This may mean the reduction of automobile emissions, which contributes to improved environment and health. And it also ultimately results in health economic benefits to individuals and to companies. So we know that when people use public transit, they are more likely to walk and bike. And for many people, this will in fact account for their recommended quota of physical activity in a given day. So overall, this is a very important aspect of incorporating physical activity into daily life, into daily activities that people do. Now, the West Side Enhancement Plan may have been born out of a climate of economic difficulty, but it's a really great opportunity to be visionary in transportation planning for Washington County that's going to make this area vibrant and sustainable. Now, the second point I wanted to make was, I think implicit in the goals that have been stated today is the whole issue of transportation equity. So when we talk about connecting neighborhoods, moving people from where they live to where they work or where other places where they want to be, we're implicitly talking about communities. And of course, for a long time, there have been many parts of our community that have essentially flown under the radar screen. So we're talking about the underserved, the economically disadvantaged, and of course communities of color. The latter is a huge increasing part of Washington County. and should be factored into any transportation planning that occurs in this area. And so I think the good news is that this enhancement plan is specifically a way of bringing those communities in. We just have to be very explicit in calling that out as a goal. So Kaiser supports this enhancement plan. The framework is solid. Of course, how this is implemented over the coming years will really determine its success and effectiveness. So I'm going to turn this over to Shannon, who's going to make some specific comments about our medical center and how this enhancement plan plays into that.
Thanks, Phil. Good morning. I'm Shannon Mayorga, also with Kaiser, as Phil noted. I assist Kaiser's Vice President of Human Resources, and I serve as our co-chair for our Latino Business Resource Group. I really want to underscore that the transit services that TriMet provides is really instrumental to Kaiser Permanente achieving success in being a sustainable healthcare provider. The use of the word sustainable is thrown around a lot, but I truly mean that in the context specifically for a $350 million gold LEED certified building that we're almost completed, that we're almost finished with completing in this neighborhood. Our opportunity to deliver high quality, affordable healthcare to the community is really pivotal on having the best teams of people and the best access to our facilities. If adopted, the West Side Service Enhancement Plan will play a critical role in the success in our future presence in Hillsborough and Washington County. The transit improvements that are underlined and identified within the enhancement plan will really play a key role in driving this success in the future. I want to share a brief snapshot on what our Westside Medical Center people footprint is going to be, because I think this really informs what the relationship with transit will be in Washington County. So we actually have a tiered opening for the campus. And I say campus, it's not just one facility. It's an important distinction to make. We have primary care, specialty care, a dental facility, and then a 126-bed hospital. 24/7 operations. We open our enhanced primary care and specialty care operations in June, so over the summer. And in mid-August, we move towards full implementation and open the 126-bed hospital at that point. So what that implies is we're going to have 1,000 people, 1,000 new employees working at the campus. I'm proud to say today that we're 60% to that goal in our hiring process. And what does that mean for people accessing a facility? So aside from the 1,000 employees that are going to be going through a daily commute throughout the clock, we currently experience 430 approximately appointments at our existing primary care facility today. So at the end of today, we're going to have seen 430 people. That's going to expand to over 900 appointments daily, including our primary care, specialty care, hospital, and dental facilities. And I'd say that's a conservative estimate. When the exchange is open in October, implementing the Affordable Care Act, we will likely see a great influx as people become more informed and knowledgeable about how to access healthcare. So that said, we're going to see a huge impact in traffic, both from the community at large and also for the employees that are going to be servicing the campus. So it's our goal really to continue the partnership that we value at TriMet. For example, in the Lloyd District, we already sell over 400 universal passes a year, which has contributed to a 20% reduction in greenhouse gases for our administrative facilities in the Lloyd District. We hope to continue this sustainable and green partnership with TriMet. What do we bring to the table? I think that's something that we want to note. And we're really excited about operating this new sustainable facility in a sustainable way. So to encourage these last mile transit opportunities. We put in place 135 covered bike parking stalls and lockers. We're incentivizing electric vehicle charging spaces, and we've identified close in proximity carpool spaces for employees that have access to that opportunity. So we will be bringing a lot to the table, and we hope to continue the partnership on enhanced bus stop improvements, bus shelter improvements, technology tracking for our employees and our members, so that we can really make transit, public transportation, more accessible to the community that access our campus and our employees. With this partnership, we're at the precipice in moving forward on adopting the service enhancement plan, and I want to put this in a perspective about where Kaiser is at the enterprise-wide level. We are in 8 regions around the country, 175,000 employees, and we recognize our footprint in many communities as being a substantial one. We have recently initiated a goal of reducing our national greenhouse gas footprint by 20% by 2020. So our relationship to transit is really pivotal in helping us to achieve this goal. And that's just one of a number of environmental goals we have. But I'll close with, I look forward to working with TriMet staff and other community partners to realize this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions while we've got these folks? Thank you so much. That was very informative. Pleased to see that you're tracking some of the usage too. Do you have information by facility like that in terms of employees, I assume?
We do. So since we're only 60% hired for the West Side, I've actually led a group in partnership with the Lloyd Transportation Management Association to create geomaps. So effectively, we have data that identifies the geographic distribution of employees throughout the region, and we hope to mirror that with members so that we have a really clear understanding of what the traffic patterns are in accessing our facilities. Really, it comes down to an equity issue for the community and an environmental operations issue for us as an employer.
Good. Thank you.
Wanted to introduce Heather McCary from the West Side Transportation Alliance, and as she comes up, did want to acknowledge that while the word was not in the presentation, the equity lens and the focus on equity is explicit in the plan to make sure that we're recognizing that need as well.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Heather McCary. I'm the Executive Director of the West Side Transportation Alliance, and I appreciate being able to come and speak with you today. I'm going to keep my comments really brief because they really echo a lot of what you've already heard today. But I do want to state my support and the West Side Transportation Alliance support of the West Side Service Enhancement Plan and really of just improved transit in general in Washington County. And as we've heard today, and as we know with Nike and Intel's growth, that there is tremendous economic growth in the county. With that tremendous growth and with families spending up to 1/3 of their income on transportation costs, and with new road infrastructure being at a crippling cost, it is incredibly important that transit plays a pivotal role in moving people throughout Washington County. So the north-south connections, the express service, and the increased frequency that is highlighted in this plan is really going to serve as that base of improved transportation options throughout the Hillsborough and Beaverton area, and we look forward to the Southwest Corridor enhancement plan that we'll be hearing from next, I believe, starting this summer, which I'm sure will do the same. In addition to these new routes and improved frequency, it's incredibly important that we improve the existing sidewalk, the bike, and the shelter infrastructure around transit stops. It's